Welcome to the first. You have a story. If you look back on your life, you've done things for the first time that no one in your family, in your town, in the country has done. This is Dr. Sandi. You have unknowingly paved the way for others without knowing it or even acknowledging it. This is where you tell your story so that those who come after you can walk in your footsteps to build their own firsts. Hey, everybody, welcome two-time author Andrew Frazier. He's a small business coach and the first to bring the Small Business Owners Power Breakfast to Newark, New Jersey over 10 years ago. Previously, he was the first family member to complete high school. Then he joined the United States Navy because of their nuclear power program. Then the Navy paid for him to go to school to become the first in his family to graduate from MIT with an engineering degree. Andrew met his wife before starting college, and they were the first of their friends to get married. He's been married over 30 years now. As the firstborn, he followed the example his mom set by being the first Black woman county council person in Pittsburgh's Allegheny County and the first Black woman life insurance manager at the Equitable. You can reach Andrew at andrew@smallbusinesslikeapro.com. And he also has a conference coming up, y'all. You can find his conference at sbprou.com/power-breakfast. Welcome, Andrew. Hey, everybody. Today I'm speaking to Andrew Frazier. Andrew, welcome, welcome. We've been crossing paths for a while, but I guess it's time now for us to actually talk.
Yes, Sandy, thanks for having me. It's always a good to hang out with you and a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better and the great things that you're doing and have done.
Well, today I actually want to talk about your great things. And as you know, we're talking about our first and what you are first at doing. Well, first, tell me a little bit about your business, Andrew.
Okay, well, for the past 12 years, I've been focused on coaching, consulting, and training entrepreneurs and business owners with a focus on business strategy and financial management. And I've worked with over 1,000 business owners one-on-one, taught thousands of people about business. So I had a chance to meet a lot of great people, help them be more successful, which I love to do.
That's 1,000 people. That's a lot of people. And you actually got into coaching before coaching was a thing.
Maybe a little bit. I guess it's always been around, but it's a lot more prevalent now, and
Yeah.
a lot more people are taking advantage of it nowadays.
And how do you find that? Is it uh, more saturated and you have to do a lot more work to get business?
Well, I think at the end of the day, for me, it's been good just because, number one, I've had a lot of success with people. So I get a lot of referrals. And, number two, I work with financial management, helping people get financing, and not a lot of people have that expertise. So it
Yeah.
really depends on your focus. And, having done it longer and having good success makes a big difference.
Yeah, I got into the coaching game, I guess, later, but I've really been coaching for free
Yep.
for numerous years. And when I finally decided, oh, people are doing this as a business, Sandy, I got into it later. So most of my stuff is just through referrals. I don't I do some social media and stuff, but most of it is by referrals. So kudos to you for getting in early on that.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
So one of the first I want to talk to you about today is you wrote to me that you're one of the first to graduate from MIT. First in your family, I am supposing, that
mhm.
attended and graduated MIT. How did you pick MIT?
um, well, I was always good in math and science and knew I wanted to study engineering. And actually, I really had my sights set on going to Penn State. From
Okay.
Pittsburgh, Penn State was the school, and but I did well on the PSAT, and the MIT recruiter, Eddie Grotto, actually kept reaching out to me. I met him at a career fair. He was like, you need to come to MIT. You can get it, because I didn't really think I could get in, but he was, made it possible, because I wasn't thinking about it, but MIT's MIT, so how could you say no, for engineering?
And what around what time was this? Were you one of the few black people in MIT, or how
Um,
did you find
no, I mean, I'm first person in my family ever. Um, you know, that year they had a record number of African Americans. I
that?
think there were
Wow.
130 of us. But there's only 5,000 undergrads, and 130, so it was almost 7% of the class that year, which was a good year. And met some lifelong friends, and was a great experience.
So in this world, I'm going all over the place,
Yeah.
in this world of DEI, how did you find MIT at that time, and how do you think it is now? Is it better?
I think one thing is they're pretty forward thinking in terms of DEI. So they don't just bring you in there and let you sink or swim.
Okay.
Um, they actually had a program called Project Interface. So you actually had a chance to go there the summer before and spend time and take some courses so you can get used to calculus and physics and other stuff. And they had a Office of Minority Education, and
Mm,
we had a Black Student Union tutoring program. So there was support systems
yes.
in the university, to encourage you, and that people looking out for you that wanted you to graduate.
That is actually very forward thinking, because some of the Ivies don't have or didn't have that system, and now they're scrambling to put a lot of those systems into place. So kudos to them too.
Yeah.
I never thought about going to an MIT type school. It just wasn't. I was more on the theater track.
Uh,
Not that I couldn't. I had excellent, SATs and all of that, but I was really a theater major. I went to a performing arts high school, so that was my track that I was on for a while. So one of the other things that was interesting was you said you come from a Navy family, a naval service. Are you the first to
well,
go in the Navy?
actually, I'm the first family member to serve in the Navy. I've had
Did
other
you do that after MIT?
they paid for MIT, so then I went there
Ah,
after. um, so you know, some cousins and my dad did the Army. Um, I had a couple cousins who did the Marines, but nobody really ever did the Navy before. So, um,
and what were you majoring in the Navy? Why did you go into the Navy, I should say?
originally I was going in because they have a nuclear power program. So they're always looking for engineers who could be officers on the nuclear power side. Um, but I ended up not doing that because I had an opportunity to spend a month on a sub
Hmm.
between years, and didn't seem like a really good experience in terms of how I'd like to spend 4 years of my life. So,
Understood.
so I changed my mind and put in to be a supply corps officer. So I got a chance to run the business functions for a ship, which was great because
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. That's a great background to have for business, period. coming
Hmm.
in. Yeah, I never thought about Navy either, or actually any type of military service. My sister enlisted in the army,
Hmm.
and this was in her last year of college. I was appalled. I was like, the army? What do you mean the army? What are you doing? This is G.I. Jane, the original G.I. Jane.
Yeah.
And for her to think she could go into the army, I was like, they're gonna kill you, like in the first, you know. And funny enough, I think it was really good for her. She was the little sister who was spoiled, and she had to get up early, which was get up early and run track, or, do all this workout, which she was a good track athlete, but not the way they did it. And then about the week that she was graduating,
Hmm.
Desert Storm started,
Mm.
and she went straight to Desert Storm. And I have some letters that one day I will publish
Hmm.
begging for me to come and get her. Oh yeah, I've never really thought about the military, and I didn't come from a military family either, so that was also something. I love the military. My husband's a military guy too.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, were you an outcast for going to the Navy? Did your family feel like?
Um, Not really. They were paying for school, so nobody could really fault me for that.
Yeah.
And and I had a really good experience. It was interesting because to graduate, you had to pass a sailing test. So up in
Oh,
Boston on the Charles River, you'd have to take a sailboat out.
wow.
And first time I tipped over and failed. And it was in like the October, November. So we were in the river and it was really cold. But second time I passed. So
Have previous sailing experience?
no, you learn it there.
Ah,
Um, so during each semester you take a Navy course as well as your regular course load, and you learn different things, and one of them sailing and navigation and all kinds of stuff. So that was one learning experiences.
I didn't know that. That's a learning experience for me too.
Hmm.
So that is interesting. So tell me about the first marriage thing now.
Okay,
I know.
so in school I met my wife actually before we even started school, because during the summer before, and during rush week. So we met, got to know each other, and we dated the whole time through school, and then we got married about a year out. So I've been married 30 years now, and I'm only 40 years old. No.
Don't say that too loud. My husband will start all over. I was a late bloomer and decided why would I get married? It was one of those things. Why do we need to get married? But
Hmm.
my husband finally convinced me that this is the
Okay.
godly thing to do.
All right. Well, hey, that- that's all right.
So all of these first, what kind of sense of accomplishment do you feel now like you can do anything and do other things for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely while I was firstborn also. So, I did, you know, I usually experience things first for family members. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not as good
Right.
because, you don't know what to expect. But, it does give me the confidence to not be afraid to try things. I've done different businesses in college. I had a business, I had did investment real estate business, and so tried a lot of different things Some things work better than others, but I wasn't afraid to try, and was confident enough that we could make it work or make it work out at least.
The first child thing is something I talk about sometimes because I'm a middle child.
Hmm.
And I think first boys are very different from first girls. The responsibility side is very different, right? I think when you're a firstborn boy, you get all the luxuries of being a firstborn. When you're a firstborn girl, you get all the responsibilities of being a firstborn, right? Taking care of the other siblings. Have you felt any pressure being the first? Like, do you think your family was looking at you to kind of set the pace for the other kids in the family?
Um, I think on a certain level, definitely both my parents were teachers. So, definitely on the education side, that was important. Um, and, you know, probably on the sports side as well. I used to play baseball, basketball, and tennis. So I think in those ways, um, and the other thing I did was, I guess, when you're first born, your parents are tougher and more rigid on you
True.
than, so by the time I got to my sister, I was like, you let her do what? Wait a
That
minute.
is true. That
And
is true.
yeah,
And the trickles down, right? Because by the time they get to like child number three or so, it's like, oh, forget it. Let them do whatever they want.
yeah. Plus, I had more money by then. So, we were um, definitely, I had my brother and I got a paper out in fourth grade.
Wow.
So we were pretty self sufficient early on in life, uh, which carries through. But
So, what is the equivalent of a paper route today?
equivalent of, well, one thing that some kids do is they actually, my nephew and other kids I've talked to, they actually sell candy to other kids in school. Um,
You mean outside of them making us sell candy to support the school, they sell it
right,
on their own?
to kids at the school. So that's one thing that people are doing. Um,
Know that.
yeah, I mean the paper route was nice because you basically had every function um, of a business.
Right.
And so, and you were actually interacting with people you didn't know, you had, uh, and it was every day. Like we did
You had to get up, you had to be on time, you had to get out there and
yeah,
do
it
that.
was 7 days a week for 5 years. So,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
kind of like
put,
the lemonade stand, right? Where you learn how to sell, you learn your sales skills. And for me, it was babysitting.
okay, okay.
Babysitting taught me, I have to say, quite a bit. I actually had a daycare. My babysitting turned into a daycare.
Oh,
And I learned how to speak to adults.
mm-hmm.
You grow up really quickly when you're a babysitter. You learn a lot of business skills, speaking to older people, being respectful to them, but at the same time, I want my money because you're late on your
Right,
your
right.
fees. So
You
you
know,
learn collection, you
right.
learn
And cause
customer service, right? And I think a lot of that doesn't happen in the same way today.
true.
We're so internet focused on things that you don't get that one-to-one interaction all the time, and it's different in person. It's really
Yeah,
very different. So I would love to see the lemonade stand come back. I don't see a lot of kids, they just go by simply. My cousin says, "Why don't you just get Simply? My mom made lemonade." He said, "Why don't you go to the supermarket and get Simply? It tastes the same way."
Yeah.
But it's just a faster paced society, and they learn different things than we did.
Hmm.
So how are you giving back all the stuff that you've learned, Andrew, for the next generation? How are you impacting the next generation?
I mean, definitely different ways. One of my gifts is to be able to teach and help people learn. So, I do training for people. I do coaching, but I coach a lot of people just because they need help, and support them that way. Um, I think that I've written a few books as a way to really share the knowledge that I have
What are your
gained
books?
over the years. Say it
Give
again.
yourself a plug. Give yourself a plug. What are your
Okay.
books?
My first book's Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. And then I created companion workbook, and my newest book is the Masterpreneur Playbook. So
When was that out?
that came out last year. So so it's been about a year now, and I'm working on a couple more. So yeah, definitely that sort of is a way to share what you learn, with a lot more people in a much more affordable way.
What is the focus of the masterpreneur? You said it
Yeah,
was. What is the
that
focus?
the Masterpreneur Playbook. What I did was outlined a 5-step business growth plan to go from startup to scaling your business. So it looks at the 5 steps you have to take, um, how you have to evolve as a business owner to be able to take the steps. What type of structure you need to have, what type of leadership skills, what your goals need to be, and what your biggest challenge you're going to have to overcome to make it to the next step. So it's really just outlines the path that you need to take as a business owner.
Oh, I have to get that because that's helpful to me. I coach a lot of businesses how to scale, and mostly because I've done it a couple of times, and there are certain things you just have to do and put in place. I was telling someone that I was coaching that she says, I want to grow, but she's a one-man band.
Mm,
And I'm like, how are you going to do that? You know, Peggy and I, my business partner, and I tried to do that, and it doesn't work. You
yeah.
have to get staff at some point because we were we were running like a $2 million company, the two of us,
Mm,
and we would be on consulting assignments all day. And then at 11 at night, we try to do the books and try to do marketing. Who's up at 11 at night to do marketing back in 2002? And but that's the time you had. You just didn't have the time during the day because you were bringing in money. And I'll never forget, we had an advisory board, and they're like, "You've got to get off billing. You got to clone yourselves and get off billing." And that's the best advice I ever got.
okay. Yeah. No. Definitely. I talk to people about that a lot. Is you got to focus on what you do best and most profitable. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also if you've never had a business, like you're a first time business owner, they don't really teach you that stuff in business school.
hmm yeah.
They don't teach you the mechanics of running a business or what you're expected to do in running a business. They might give you the analytics side and the case study side, but the actual doing. I went to Dowling College,
hmm
and there's a simulation that goes for the entire year, your final year for MBA in an MBA program. And that simulation is running an international company. It's the best thing I ever did in learning how to put all the pieces of your MBA together, right? And I'm trying to find another simulation program to use in for myself and in my coaching, because especially that it was international. One day you wake up and there's a coup in Africa, right? And your money, all your stuff is tied up. How do you how do you progress? How do you get your money out? How do you run a business internationally when all these outside forces are happening? You know, a hurricane came through and wiped out my plant with all my computers in Fiji or someplace. And you really don't get that in the regular business school programs. And
Right.
I'd love to do a simulation, for people who are starting out or
Mhm.
people who are just not that far into their businesses, to give them a really good feel. I bet a lot of them would say, forget it. Like, hands up. So,
Right, right. No, I mean that's a great program. I think one of the challenges with business expectations is, or business education is, most of it's created around large companies and getting a job at a company.
yes,
So, a lot of it's not holistic. So, you got a chance to sort of see the whole company and all the business working together. In small business, you have to have that purview as well, whereas most people don't. And the other thing in small business is, a lot of times what you should do is like the opposite of what a large business is going to do. So if
correct.
you, depending on your experience, something that may seem right to you based on your experience may not be the right thing for you to do. You
Yeah,
know.
and you know what that program taught me too was we had to pick our teams. That's my hiring right there.
Okay.
You had to hire the right person
Hmm.
to be on your team. And there wasn't much of a chance to get rid of that person off of your team once they're on there. So the team dynamics, how do you work with someone even if they're not pulling their weight? All the different team dynamics were present. You know, do you have favorites that you play with all the time in your little pond? When do you have to all pull together to realize you're on the same team? And we won that we were the only all girls team,
Okay. Okay.
and we kicked butt. It was so good that, and some of the guys were, like, oh, you little girls, how the typical treating women as
Mhm.
girls. And so it was a sweet victory for us. I'm going
Okay.
to look for a simulation program that does that now that we're talking about it.
Okay. Okay.
So, did anyone inspire you? I know you said your parents were teachers. Did
Hmm.
they inspire you to go into business, or did you have a mentor or someone that you looked up to?
I think part of it was, having the paper out, having my own money, being able to sort of run the business the way, I felt that it should be run. We were able to grow our paper route, and then we also turned it into a snow shoveling business because we knew everybody, and we
Oh,
were in Pittsburgh, and there was a whole bunch of snow, so we were able to hire some of our friends to do the snow.
added
And
a vertical.
yeah, so it would definitely, being able to sort of make some decisions and lead. And I studied engineering, loved what I studied, but the time frame of the problems that you solve is like a really long time frame, and you're usually only working on one for a really long time frame. And I really like the dynamics of being in business, having the opportunity to do that for a ship on the ship. We were always doing, internationally, pulling in different places. We'd have to get supplies, just a lot of logistics stuff. And, sort of like the pace, like to be able to make decisions, like to see the outcome of them. And, solving problems just on a more dynamic basis.
So did you, besides the Navy, did you work for a corporation before starting your business, or did you just go straight into starting your
Um,
business?
no, no, I took the long way. I worked as a manager at large private company. So I got more business experience, and then I went and got my MBA at NYU in finance and management. And then from there, I went to work at a Fortune 500 company in finance and investments. And then I left and helped run a nonprofit for a couple of years, and then from there, I was like, do I want to go back? Because I don't think I'm a nonprofit person. You know,
I'm not
um,
either.
I'm not the guy who could sit at a desk in the corner forever.
Yeah.
So corporate. I had some good corporate jobs, but as you go forward, you end up just in meetings all day and not really able to make a lot of decisions. So I like, really, took the plunge into business, and fortunately, I've been able to make it for 12 years. So once you make it 5 years, you're pretty much good.
I think that's a good route to go. I really profited from working in corporate,
Hmm.
especially knowledge wise. Just things that I was able to manage a budget, right? You get a business unit and you get a line item and you get money. It's not your money, but you've got to manage it like it's your money. And just understanding all the mechanics of how a business runs, especially in a large company. And having especially that budget is so helpful when you go to your own business and you have no money. Like your budget is zero.
Right. Well,
You still have to get stuff done, right?
there's limits. A lot of time business owners sort of just spend uh, without thinking about it. Whereas if you've had that P&L experience, you sort of know that you have to balance it out, and you want to make sure you have
Absolutely.
more dollars coming in than going out. Um,
And where do you spend it is a big thing.
mhm,
You really start looking at, hey, does this make sense right now to do X versus Y with the money that I have? Because you're held accountable in corporate for that. In
mhm,
your own business, you're the only person holding yourself accountable, right? And I remember we had to do some marketing, and we were a marketing company,
mhm,
and we needed to do our own marketing.
mhm.
And there was this lump in my chest at putting out money in the budget for marketing. I'm like, there's so many other things, and we're a marketing company. So it's very different when it's your own money and you've got to go out there and put it out. All of a sudden for me it's like, oh my God, do we really need that? But it's a good learning. It's a good
Mhm,
My
mhm.
CFO made me stop driving into Manhattan because he said, do you know how much money you spend on parking? And I'm like, dude, my car's like my office. I could write that off. He's like, no, you're gonna start taking the train. And he was right. I actually got a lot more done taking the train because I could read, I could take notes, I could prepare for my meeting when I can't do that in a car, right? So
Right.
to this day, I still take the train into the city.
Okay. Yeah. No. Definitely. I sometimes miss that because you got your own time
Yeah,
to to do stuff. So. Uh,
absolutely. So now that you've done all of these first, Andrew, do you feel that when you have to do something else for the first time, Do you get any agita over it, or do you just feel much bolder and comfortable in your own skin trying things for the first time?
Um, very comfortable. People who know me know I don't really I don't sweat the load or feel pressure.
You look
You
like
know,
that kind of
I'm
guy.
kind of laid back.
Yeah,
Um, so even if everyone else is running around with their hair on fire, I'm usually pretty
steady.
and down to earth. So I think part of that's from the military. Being in the military, you have responsibility for such major stuff that everything else is like, well, if it doesn't work, it's only money or it's only, um, and so that, and then, I think also my parents, my mom made it a lot easier because she has a lot of firsts also.
What are
So,
some of the first that she's had?
well, one, she actually went into life insurance sales and actually was one of the first ever Black sales managers for a major life insurance company in the Pittsburgh area.
Wow.
So that was big. She started several organizations or helped start them and was involved in um, stuff. And then when she retired, she ran for office, the county counselor or county commissioner, and she won. So she was the first African American female counsel, and not only that, she won without being endorsed.
Oh my goodness.
And then the second time they didn't endorse her again, and she won. So that she's pretty. So she's so I think part of that's we have had good examples in our home life as well growing up.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine not being endorsed and still going out there and, winning
Yeah, but it was great because afterwards she wasn't beholden to anybody.
to anyone. That's true.
So she could reach across the aisle. She could do what she felt was right to do, and um,
How
I
long
think,
did she stay in those positions?
um, well, she did the first one. She did, I think, 6 years. So she left because she ran for state office,
Okay.
and she was really close to winning state office, but she didn't make it. So then she retired. But that was her retirement job anyway. She just
Okay.
wasn't good at retiring.
I'm not good. I'm not good at retiring either. And I don't know if there should be such a word, actually.
Yeah. Nowadays,
I think not Venus, Serena said, what is she calling it? Evolving.
yes.
She's evolving. And I'm like, that's a really good word for this.
Hmm.
Because you never really do nothing, right? You're never in the state of doing nothing. You're doing something at a different level.
Yep.
And evolving is such a good word for what you're doing. You're really just changing what you do.
Right.
And I like that.
No, I mean that definitely that's a great explanation. And nowadays with technology, you can work and do other things um from wherever you are and however much time you want to spend. Unlike in the past, you probably had to go somewhere to work a
Yes.
full day. There may have been some physicality involved, so you had to retire because you couldn't do that indefinitely.
Yeah. But I think when people say retirement, they think of you going, sitting home, doing nothing. And I find a lot of people who they merely left the jobs that they had, and even if they go into volunteering, or mentoring or doing something or teaching, right? Coaching, they're still doing something. I don't think, I don't know. Retirement is a weird word for me. I just
Right.
never got used to the idea of retiring completely.
Well, that's a good thing because a lot of people who retire from the jobs and don't do anything don't last very long.
Very long. That's true. You have a sense of purpose, and just doing things gives you a sense of purpose, waking up every day and looking forward to what you're doing.
Hmm.
And what will be your next, Andrew, after you retire or evolve?
After I evolve, um, I think I think I'm in my next evolution of scaling my business. So really building my business nationally and internationally. So, those are, my next evolutions.
Okay. And so do you think you'll ever retire from doing that? Can
Um,
you see yourself retiring from that?
Not totally. I could see myself, having a team and developing the team where they could run things, um, but still being involved as wanted and as needed.
Okay.
Um, and so either that, probably, volunteer, just mentor people because I've done that and enjoy, relationships and help people. Um,
Have you thought about selling your business outright?
um, I got to get to a scale where I could do that. Um, but I don't know if I would sell it.
Okay.
Um, it not at least until I was too old to be involved, or if I could mentor someone and develop them to run it. I think I'd rather transition it that way.
Okay.
It would be great if one of my kids was interested, but of course
They're
they
never
never are.
interested. They're never. We sold our company because when we started it, I remember Lauren was 13 and so was Robbie, Peggy's
Mhm.
son. And we started giving them little jobs in the business to get them, from copying stuff to just that was their summer jobs. They had to come in and work. And then one day we said, so, you guys should be really learning this because you're going to take over the business. And we got to, what? We don't want to work here. Like this. We don't want to work here. And they were adamant that they
Yep.
didn't want to work. Well, fast forward, they're in their 30s. Lauren's in marketing. And
Hmm.
she's head of marketing. I'm like, you said you didn't want to do this. And Robbie's in accounting and working with companies like ours. And we keep saying to them, you got a taste of this with us. You guys could have had this business, but no. Anyway, it's my old age pension plan, so I'm glad we sold it.
Right, right. Well, one of my best friends in high school, his dad had a business, and his goal in life was to not have to work for the family business. That's the only reason he went to college was to not have.
Of the
And
family.
fast forward, he graduated, got a job, was miserable, and then went work for the family business, and it's been great ever since. So, the thing he was most afraid of.
How do you create legacy then, Andrew? If you work all your life, like we've been working, and we decide to retire or sell or black businesses traditionally have a legacy type business, whether it's funeral homes or liquor stores or whatever. It's something that's handed down because you spent a lot of time building it. So how do we in this world create those kind of legacy businesses if our kids don't want to do this?
I think that's a great question. I've actually given that some thought because that's something that's important to me as well. Um, I think the first thing is helping them to be able to create a business that's more self-sufficient without the owner. Because then, it can be an investment as opposed to a job. So, if you have a funeral home, but you have to be there for it to work, then it's hard to sell it or it's hard to um, give it to anyone because they have to take your job.
Mhm.
But, if it's a business that can run without you, you have a team there, um, then that gives you a lot of alternatives. You
But
know,
that is the goal of any business, or should be, right? Is
should
to
be. Yeah.
fire yourself, so to speak, so that you don't have to be there, that you're not needed in the business. You might be wanted, but not needed. Like, and so I know when I train people to grow their businesses to sell it, that's one of the first things is you cannot be the head salesperson, the rainmaker, the marketing person, the ultimate decision maker on everything. Because why would somebody buy your company?
There you go.
Right? If they'd have to take me with them, and then I'm not really retired. And I can tell you when you have to do an earn out for
Hmm.
someone, you start seeing all the challenges of working for a person with different ideas,
Hmm.
because they might have had the same idea when they decided to buy you, but they want to interject their own ideas of what they want to do, and you might not agree with that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, I sold this company, you were supposed to keep it the same way. And so that's a big learning, but you do have to build your business so
Hmm.
that you're practically irrelevant to that business.
Right. Right. But a lot of our businesses, we never do that. Partially because you know
Ego
ego.
is a big thing.
There you go.
It's my business, and I'm the only one who can run it this way.
So yeah. Um, so yeah. I mean, I think that's the issue. Still trying to help people solve it on a one-off basis, but we need more of that.
Well, great. Well, Andrew, anything else you want to, any final last words of wisdom for us?
Well, I want to appreciate the opportunity to come hang out with you and chat about business and about leadership and about firsts and moving forward. I think that one of the things I always keep in mind is you know the more that the faster you grow. So you have to continually always be learning. Um,
Yes.
so that's one of the things I try to do and try to help other people do.
And where can we find you, Andrew, if when you're not talking to me?
Okay, well, definitely on LinkedIn, Andrew Frazier, CFA. My email is andrew at mysbpro.com. And my university website is www.sbprou.com. So
Great.
excellent.
Thank you so much for coming on. I
Okay,
appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking to you in the near future.
definitely. I appreciate it and enjoyed it.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Sandy. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on the first, where no two stories are alike, even if the circumstances are similar. Let this discussion serve as inspiration for others to show what's possible, and more importantly, to produce seconds and thirds.